Alright, so I'm using my speaker notes on my computer. Hi, my name is Max Krohn, and unlike 64% of Americans, I won't be hard pressed to retire. Did you know that of the US population, 50% of people ages 24 and up feel somewhat too severely afraid of retiring? Diane Oakley, executive director of the National Institute of Retirement Security. You don't want to be part of that number. I come from a family of contributors and investors, so I guess you could say I'm pretty well versed in this realm. I watched my brother max out his Roth IRA just the other day, and I saw how that whole process went. I believe with the proper education, the statistic of fearful retirement could be substantially lowered. Today, I will be briefly touching on number one, the history of the options retirees have or had, and two, the difficulty of retiring successfully. So, starting with topic one, the options retirees have today. Before we get into the second topic, some of you may ask, why do I have to worry when we have pensions and Social Security? I'm informing you guys today that because unfortunately by the time we retire, Social Security will likely be gone. So when you pay Social Security tax, 70% of that goes to nowadays retirees, and the rest you will probably never see the benefit from. So eventually all the baby boomers will take up the rest of the diminishing pool of hard workers' money of the Gen Z, Gen Y, millennials, and that will never reap those benefits. And pensions have been replaced and are being replaced by what's known as the 401k plan. This is a plan in which you set aside a certain percent of your paycheck, and that goes on to compound and averagely give you 7% more on that money per year. And the Roth IRA plan is one in which it taxes your money on the way in, but when you retrieve it, it's completely tax-free. And that money is using compound interest. And if you aren't familiar with compound interest, it's taking a value and multiplying it by that number, and then that number is going to multiply on that number. So as it grows, that percentage will likely vary, but statistically it will stay the same historically, like roughly a 7% increase on your money. And it will multiply and keep going until you want to pull it out, but you can pull it out penalty free when you're 59 and a half years old. And one thing to also mention is that you can put in $6,000 of your money every single year, no questions asked. And unlike the Roth IRA, the traditional does not offer tax-free retrieval. However, when you initially put that money in, that money isn't taxed. So this is beneficial because it serves to lower your income tax bracket, like your annual income tax bracket. If you just hop to a higher tax bracket, it could lower that. So this could potentially save you thousands of dollars. So in simple terms, the Roth IRA will tax you at the beginning, while the traditional IRA will tax you on the way out. Both have benefits, but the traditional is unique in a certain way. So this is getting a little complex, but bear with me. When you put in $100 in a Roth IRA, it gets taxed, so the money is actually a little bit less than what it gets put in as. So a traditional is $100 that you put in, and when that money compounds, that money is going to compound on the higher number and then that higher number will compound on that higher number, and there's just going to be a bigger differential of money on your timeline. So now we're going to talk about the difficulty of retiring successfully. Discounting the trade-offs of present and future utility properly is very hard for the vast majority of people. However, I think I can gear your brain into thinking in a way that will want to invest. So, what would you choose if you could have $1 today or $21 when you're 60 years old? Can't you hold off on that McChicken? Once you drive by, you'll forget about it. 2 minutes tops. Say you hold off on that Starbucks coffee or your Dunkin' Donuts coffee. You just saved yourself $105 in future money. So the idea of loss aversion is extremely prevalent. So when you're loss adverse, you tend to not want to lose $5 as you are to gain $5. So since you'd rather not lose $5, you'd rather keep that money and not put it away for future, because that is the principle of losing that $5. So you'd rather keep that $5 and feel like you just made $5. In reality, you're losing out on a lot of money. So according to Andrew Biggs, if we count both retirement accounts and pensions and traditional pensions of retirees nowadays, 72% of households aged 55 and over have some sort of retirement saving. So to conclude, hopefully that taught you a couple things about retiring successfully and the history of retirement options. I also hope this wasn't too boring. Now that you know a couple basics of avoiding retiring in poverty. When you climb out of that high interest debt, seriously consider bettering your future self by contributing to a Roth or traditional IRA, or both, and take full advantage of that 4% employer match. You won't regret it. Thank you for listening.